Welcome back to another video. Today I'll show you my latest mod. This is the Lieherr R940 demolition excavator. The first function is that you can open the back of the superstructure, where you will find one of the two hubs. It's very easy to take out, and the cover is held up by a pin, but the entire cover can be taken off as well, which is very easy by just pushing out this piece and then pulling the axle out. That way you have even more access to the hub to replace the batteries, for example. Here you can see the panel that covers up the back of the superstructure. So now, how to take the battery box out. It's very easy, just grab it by the sides and pull it upwards. Currently I don't have any batteries in there, but that would be the way to swap them. And then just make sure the cables are all tucked away neatly so the cover doesn't pop open because of the cables. The most important part of the excavator is of course the boom. This one has a very long boom because it's a demolition excavator. The model is 1:21 scale and the boom reaches up to about 1 meter and 20 centimeters high. I do have to admit the listing of the boom is quite slow, but that is because it's so large. This is what it looks like at 1x speed, and in a little bit I will speed up the video so you don't have to wait forever. Normally you very rarely use this function as it's just there to lift up the boom from the ground from transport mode to deployed mode basically. So that's the only reason you would use this. For the rest of the time you have the second part of the boom which moves separately that you could use, since that's way faster and more efficient, and it greatly increases your working range. What is very fast, however, is the driving. It's very capable even with the boom fully deployed like this. It can turn around, drive, and everything is laid out intuitively on the controls, which also have separate instructions for them on how to configure them. Both tracks have a linear clutch in them, which prevents stalling the motor when you drive against the wall, for example, or if anything happens and you get stuck. Even though the boom is over a meter tall, it doesn't really tip over even when driving, which is a very big plus. I was very surprised to be able to do this with just the pieces from the 42100 set. One of the limitations, however, was the amount of U-joints in the set, which is only 3 unfortunately. A lot of it was solved by gears for the linear actuators, but this required a bit of a special solution. That is why I used pneumatic tubes to transmit power as a drive shaft. That means there's a special assembly at each side of the pneumatic tube, which basically converts a bar to a cross axle you see in Technic. The bar fits inside the pneumatic tube, and that way it drives the functions at the end of the boom, which are the tilting of the claw and the opening and closing of the claw. Unfortunately, with the pneumatic tubes as drive shafts, you do have to disconnect them when folding in, because they are simply not long enough. One additional function is at the end of the range of the claw, it starts spinning around. So if you think about it, you can also see that as a function actually, even though it is the same motor and a bit unintentional, but still works really well. There's also a manual knob on the claw to make it spin around. So this is what it looks like when you fold the arm back in. This one is at real-time speed, so you can see how much faster it is than the first part of the boom, since this is the way lighter part of the boom, and that will most likely be the main function you're using during your demolition project. Like this, it drives even more stable, and it can turn up to about 60 degrees in both directions. This is limited, firstly because of stability issues, as of course the tracks don't have the same stability front to back as they have sideways, which would severely limit your working height in case you were able to turn the full way. Also, that function is limited by a slipping clutch. Here we have another very interesting manual function, which is the tilting of the cabin. I think these are the details that are just so important to get right, as it's really one of the cool things about the real machine. Another very interesting fact is that the real machine has two modes for the tracks: working mode and transport mode. You can switch them easily by just sliding them in and out by grabbing the little things on the side. It can drive in both configurations, as well as working in both configurations. That really doesn't matter to the functionality. It's only to transport it that you might want a smaller footprint. The thing you can see on the desk right now is the arm stand, which is included because there are two arms in this model, just like with the real one. You can switch between the two arms, which is another very cool function, as usually the arm and the machine are transported on separate trucks since they are so massive. Now it is time to disconnect the arm. You do that by pulling out the two gray pins, disconnecting the pneumatic tube, and then kind of bending it. Kind of an illegal technique, but it is definitely quicker than the other option of disassembling half the arm. So here you can see everything a little slower again. First of all, you pull out the light gray pins on the side, which is really important, otherwise the arm won't go in. This is also what holds it in place when it's put in. Then you line up the axle with the only free hole in the arm. When that is lined up, you fold it and at the same time push the two parts together. Then, if everything goes well, the top axles should be put in their connectors. Then lastly, put in the gray pins, and all the way at the end you connect the pneumatic tubes again, which are just for decorative purposes over here. So this is what it would look like on the other side again. Connect the pneumatic tubes and push in the pin. So this is the main arm with a large stand. It fits in there, and they are designed for each other. It can be transported this way as well. So this is the small arm. It is way smaller and looks more like a normal excavator. It has two attachments: a hydraulic hammer and a regular bucket. The hydraulic hammer is a manual function because I had no way to get power to there through the entire small arm, because this was only after I finished most of the design that I got to this part. This is the bucket. It's ideal for picking up leftover pieces from your demolition project. It's ideal for picking up leftover pieces from your demolition project. It is very easy to connect to the main, to the small arm. You just line up this axle and put it in there. Then you have two gray pins that each go into their respective lift arm. So this is what the small arm looks like when you fold it in and out manually. Of course, this can also be done on the machine, which I'll show you in a second. You connect it in the exact same way as the main arm, but this one doesn't have the pneumatic tubes to connect. And now it looks more like a regular excavator, which then can be used to pick up your debris from the demolition. So this is what the full range looks like, from all the way folded in to all the way folded out. Here you can see the full range again. With this configuration, it drives even faster and smoother. And now you can just operate it like a regular RC excavator with two less functions than the main arm. But I think this adds a lot of play value here, since you can switch the arms, and especially since I had the pieces left over from the main model. Also, before I forget, the instructions are available on Rebrickable. It will be the top link in the description of this video. Also, here are two of the little accessories that are also included in the instructions. One of them is the on-site generator, which could be used for any type of tools that needs electric power. And the other one is a pallet full of fuel barrels. The generator contains a lot of detail, which just like the original model. This model reuses the stickers from the original model, so you don't have to take them off or anything. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video.